So right now we are onto our practice pattern, which you've already learned all of the basic beginner information that you need to know, threading your needle, splitting your floss, and you know everything you need to know. The only thing we haven't gone over is how to get your pattern to your fabric and then how to close the back of your pattern when that time comes. So I'm going to start with transferring your pattern. This is the very first tip or tutorial, and this is the very first step in actually starting this project. So the most simple method is always going to be transferring with a tracing method. So there's different ways to do it. You could hold your paper and your fabric up to the window to have the light shine through. You can get apps off of the App Store, which actually do the same thing where your iPad becomes kind of the light pad. I actually have a light pad off of Amazon that I just plug in and then hit the light and it'll illuminate from behind. But a lot of the time you can see right through, and you can trace just by using your pen or pencil. This here is a heat erasable pen. This may or may not have come in your kit. These pens, well, essentially you hit them with high heat. So on paper, you would just use the eraser and the friction erases it. But in the context of fabric, we use like a iron or a hair dryer, and that'll erase your lines. So we would just trace our pattern. If you do not have the heat erasable pen, like you didn't order the kit that comes with one, you can just use like a pencil. I started out by just using a pencil. I just did like a really light touch so that it wasn't a really dark line. I wouldn't use a heavy black pen like this, but you could, and just make sure you stitch over the lines that you've created. So it's not necessarily mandatory to use a heat erasable pen. It just makes it a little bit easier for like mistakes. And if you want to make sure that your lines are hidden, or not having to worry about, I guess, hiding your lines. So the basics is you just trace out your pattern. So there's different methods. You can also use different types of products. There's transfer papers that are like a carbon paper, where you would put the carbon paper down over top of your fabric, put your pattern on top, and then trace out the lines on the pattern, and it transfers to it. But again, it's very permanent. There's actually like a sticky paper. It would be the same stuff that we use for our stick and stitch patches. So these, you print your design onto this paper, you stick the paper to the fabric, you stitch through the paper and the fabric, and then you soak it in water, and the transfer actually removes itself. So that's another option that you can use. It's really good for beginners, obviously, but it is a little bit, it creates a thicker to stitch through. And I do find, for me, I don't like to wash my projects after I'm done, so I don't prefer to get them wet. So that's why I love the heat erasable option. So all of those are different options. You can look on my YouTube channel and find the video that goes through all of the options. This is the one that I highly recommend for beginners. It's probably the easiest, it's the most simple, and you can do it with literally 0 to no tools at home. You just basically need a printer to print your template. Okay, so we are then ready to put our fabric into our hoop and stitch. And then I'm going to show you how to back your hoop next.